Welcome to the Women in Travel Tourpreneur podcast. I'm very excited to have a wonderful panel here today so we can have a productive and informative chat. My name is Amanda Walkins. I'm the Managing Director of the Tourism Marketing Agency, and I would like to pass the mic over to Caroline if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi, thanks, Amanda. I'm Caroline Connor. I run wine tastings in Lyon, France, and luxury food and wine tours. And my brand name is Wine Dine Caroline.
Love it. Fantastic. Carol?
Hi, I'm Carol El Hawari from Mr. and Mrs. Egypt, and I also have another brand, Literary Tours in Egypt, and I'm based in Egypt.
Very on brand. And Zakia, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Zakia Mulawigiri, and I'm the founder of a social enterprise called Invisible Cities, based in Scotland, England, and soon Wales, so in the UK.
I love the expansion and the growth. It's been great to see. Mary, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Amanda. My name's Mary Collins. I am founder of Blue Fern Travel. We're a food tour company out of Washington, D.C. We recently acquired another company called Far Horizons. It focuses on archaeology internationally. So
quite the difference. So I'm excited to see that. So thank you all for joining this. I'm sure will be a helpful chat for everyone, because what we want to cover is women mentors in the travel industry. I personally think it's so important to, have people that you can look up to, that you can try to emulate and learn from, and who you respect in your own industry. And it's one thing to look up to people in other industries who might be doing something tangentially connected, but within travel, especially each of you running, a tour operation, I personally think it's incredibly important to have someone that you can look up to as a mentor. So I'm hoping that we can offer a few names, and use this platform that we've been offered to really kind of lift up other women who are doing fantastic things in the industry. So I will open it up. Does anyone have someone that they absolutely would love to shout out straight away? Caroline, you are nodding already. Yeah, go for it.
So I would love to shout out Jessica Hammer, who runs Taste of Toulouse food tours here in France. And she's actually the person who introduced me to Tourpreneur. We got connected during the pandemic, right at the beginning, through a Ladies in Business in France Facebook group. And then she got me into this, and she has been such an incredible mentor. She's just someone who is, really has her product dialed in and really inspires me a lot, and has helped me work out a lot of kinks in my business, and even just down to like WordPress advice and SEO and technical things. I've really just learned so much from her, and I just love her to death. So
I can vouch for this recommendation. She's fantastic.
Me too. Yes.
Yeah.
Jessica's the greatest. I know she's been on the podcast before, so.
Yeah. Hopefully, we can share that episode link too, so she can get another shout out there.
Yeah.
Who else has a recommendation?
I would definitely add, at least in the DC space, there's a company called A Tour of Her Own. And I apologize, Caitlin, I can't think of your last name off the top of my head, but Caitlin is the founder of that. And she is doing an excellent job over here telling women's stories. And I think would certainly fall in the category of people to look up to as far as women in travel goes.
So are her tours specifically the women's stories in?
Yeah, it's all women focused tours, and she's published a book about women history in DC, and just kind of keeps it moving. And there's always something cool going on over there. So absolutely,
I love that. That's so cool. I will definitely be checking that out when I'm in DC next month. So
yeah.
I know, Zakia, you and I have talked previously about Alessandra Alonso, who runs Women in Travel CIC, which is based out of London, right? And I think they're actually, they do an event that brings together allies and women in travel. You've mentioned it previously. Do you want to touch a bit more on that one?
Yes, I think she's definitely somebody to look up to, running women in travel, not women in tourism, sorry. Trying to get more women into the industry through training, through access to different events, and organize conferences with a particular kind of ally panel and group of people who are selected for the work they do day to day and how they support women in the sector. And I think that it's not only the ground running, so like she's not only working with vulnerable women or women out of work and things like that, it's also elevating the voice of women who are already in the industry and maybe at more senior level, which I think is such a great way to look at it overall and not just one way or the other. The other person I was going to mention, and I think we spoke about her before, Amanda, as well, as Nikki Padilla out of New York City. Mm-hmm. She trains guides, but also she's done a lot of work with us at Invisible Cities to look at how we support guides beyond training in the room and how we talk about safety and how we don't, you know, how a male guide versus a female guide and how we take things into consideration. And she's also very well connected and able to say, here's another great company, here's what they do, and has been massive support in kind of a bit like what you were saying, Caroline, you know, working on the business for everything that it is and say, okay, let's tackle one thing at a time. And also, you know, what else could you do? So I think that's her very international overall experience means that she has probably an opinion about everything and is able to then say, okay, well, from what I know in the industry, this is what's happening and this is what you could do. So she's, definitely one to put out there.
What a great recommendation. Absolutely. Yeah, we have talked about Nikki before. Her work is fantastic. Carol, I know you're newer to working in travel and tourism. Have you found any women mentors? Has that been a challenge to find people?
Mentors, yes. I would say I don't really have one. So if we make it more role model than mentor, I suppose it's the same thing. There's two. One is Beth Santos from Wonderful. And what I really like about her is how she started with something really tiny and it's grown into this amazing thing. And I love the idea, for example, that she does conferences as well, and they're for women. And so therefore, I would rather go to that and then meet perhaps more mentors and role models at that later this year. And I'm also going to, if it's possible, take one of my female members of staff so she's never been out of Egypt, so it's an opportunity for her as well. And the other person is you, Amanda, actually, because I mean this as a total absolute compliment, is that you're not a really gobby, ultra, outspoken extrovert type. You are who you are, and yet still you've achieved so much in this industry that I do consider you to be very much now one of my role models.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That was really sweet. Thank you.
So it's all true.
But I agree with you with Beth Santos. She's absolutely been a role model for me. I worked with the wonderful team for a while as well, and their WITS Travel Creator and Brand Summit is a fantastic conference. You know, to be surrounded by women who are running businesses, who are content creators, and changing the face of the industry, and their whole ethos is pushing for diverse representation in the travel industry, and that's from the top down. So understanding that the majority of travel consumers, purchasers are women, so they should be reflected across every aspect of the industry. So they've done so much work over the last 10 plus years that they've been in existence, and I definitely look to her as a role model as well. So great shout, absolutely. What is it that makes it difficult to find a mentor? Carol's saying that you hadn't actually, found a mentor here. Is there a challenge, an extra challenge in trying to find someone in, the tour operator space specifically, or that understands your business, or just that you can personally connect to?
I think it's a bit of all of those, to be honest. And not knowing the industry and not having I have got a network now, a bit of a network anyway, but at the very beginning, I had no network, and which is why I ended up, signing up for Arrival and Tourpreneur. And in fact, what really helped with my network was finding Chris, actually, Chris from TMA, because with the digital tourism show, and that kind of introduced me to a lot of other people in the whole industry. But when you start afresh in a completely new industry, it is, where do you find those people? Because certainly I have found none at all in Egypt. So locally, that's a problem. So I need to look elsewhere for those people. But any ideas on where I might find more?
Yeah,
you're welcome.
I would, I guess, just chime in because I have kind of an interesting mentor story personally.
Yes, absolutely.
Basically, just when I was starting my business, I actually originally wanted to start a hostel in DC. And so I was doing lots of research on how to do that and how to put it together. And really through like friends of friends, I mean, very indirectly ended up meeting an amazing lawyer who is not at all, I apologize for that, it's my coffee maker, is not at all in the travel space, but he is very familiar with entrepreneurs in general. And literally to this day, I'm actually going to go have lunch with him later on today, but we've met every 6 weeks like clockwork. And one of the interesting things I think when I look back on it is our very first meeting, I didn't even realize we were going to be a mentor-mentee relationship. And he just started in on explaining what that really means. And like, he's a man where you get to read between the lines a little bit. So I've gotten good at that. But basically he was saying, if I give you advice, you need to go do it and come back and kind of report back. And I think for me, what that really meant is it is a give and take. And he's investing his time. And so I need to kind of, deliver, so to speak, for lack of a better way to say it. But honestly, I mean, after the hostel thing, I kind of realized I did not have money to buy a building and the whole thing wouldn't work if you didn't own the building. And I was kind of just ready to give up. I didn't know what to do at that point. And he was really the one that kind of helped me pivot to tours in general and to start the food tour company. And so I probably wouldn't even be sitting here if it weren't for him. So I just think it's interesting that you can absolutely have people outside of the industry that are incredibly helpful as well. Relationship. So
I have one of those as well, actually. I have a coach, and she is, as it happens, a woman. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, actually. So it's not to say that the only valid mentors or role models or whatever are within the industry, because
absolutely,
So I totally agree on that. Yeah.
I do have someone else that I would like to shout out. Sherry Rosenthal is really amazing, and she is my mentor for retreats. So I'm moving into multi-day luxury, experiences, and her retreat blueprint program is insane. It's such a cool community. The spreadsheet alone on pricing out your retreat is worth all of the money you pay for this course. And it's a community with calls and coaching. And I just think she's incredible. And that is like, the language of retreats, but, I'm not a yoga teacher. I'm just, doing drunk summer camp for adults, but it's pretty cool to have access to someone who has so much experience and so much specific guidance. And she literally tells you exactly how to craft, market, sell, and then run profitable retreats. And her whole thing is that you need to make money. And I think we women often, we don't talk about money as much as we should. And we need to talk about money, and we need to make money. So yes to money.
Where do I sign for your retreats, Caroline? I like that idea.
Drunk adult summer camp.
Yeah. I'll let you know. WineDineCaroline.com. No, I'm not allowed to promote myself. But I know you do multi-day excursions, right? I'm assuming.
I do. Yes,
yeah.
I do.
So we should certainly connect, and I know we'll follow up right in the show notes with a link to Sherry Rosenthal's work, because she really is a fantastic resource. Yeah. Wealth of knowledge.
I love this. Yeah.
I think to go back to, looking for a mentor, I also have one of those stories of having a mentor who was really good and worked in a very big investment firm. So nothing to do with tours. And Gear is his name. And he was, so great. He was great at reading between the lines as well, and realized that I probably was at a stage where I needed to become a CEO or a leader and no longer a one-woman band. So I was, used to doing everything, running around, be completely mad, and then was slowly starting to build a team. And I think one challenge to find a mentor is that where do you have the time, you know, and you have to commit the time for that and do the homework, like Mary said. And his support was to just read the room, and I just felt like he became my friend. And I was like, I just really like you. And he was so supportive and so great. But I will, and it was many years ago now, or a few years ago, but when he said, you know, he would introduce you in a room full of other people, investors or whatever, and say, this is Zakia, and she's the CEO of this amazing company. And then hearing that out loud from a guy, to me, really, I still remember. And so sometimes, you know, finding somebody who's good at reading you and what you need, because the mentoring relationship can also go really wrong if you don't match. You know, it's a bit like a date, you know, like if you don't match and they don't understand you and you don't understand them, then it doesn't work. You don't get anything out of it. You feel guilty. And I've definitely had that before, where, you know, talking to someone and I'm like, they don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. So that's very important. And sometimes that's more important than where they come from or what industry they're in, I feel. If they can help you decipher that. So for Gary, you know, I think he just definitely read that I just needed confidence and somebody to follow up with me every so often and to kind of be my champion in the room. That's what I would always call them, you know. And maybe if we were to do that again now, that would be a completely different piece of work. Like it would be completely different relationship or advice or anything like that. So, and I think all of us also mentor and, you know, others definitely. It doesn't matter, I think, where you're at in your journey. There will always be someone who's further ahead and somebody who's just starting as well. And I try to be as generous with my time as people have been with theirs in the past. Though it's hard because I don't have any advice to give anyone, but at the same time, I still remember what I was like and thinking, you know, any role model, any advice or anything like that when you start, I would have taken, you know. So I think also we could all, you know, do something a little bit, even if it's just go for coffee with someone as opposed to have this proper formal mentoring relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think that's so important, you know, for everyone in this space right now to remember that there is definitely someone that's looking up to you and what you've done already. And they're gonna want to reach out as well. So yeah, it's kind of all of our responsibilities to lend a hand backwards as well and make sure that we're not always just looking up. But I love that we were able to drop a few names, and hopefully, you know, these people will inspire some other people who are listening here today. And I would love to just thank each of you for coming in and helping to uplift other women, but also offer your own voices and hopefully inspire some other people who are earlier in their journeys. So thank you, each of you, for coming today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.